All right, everyone, it's the weekend edition of Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the Daily Fail, meme review, software releases, the websites by plebes. And joining us today is a very special guest, fellow Bitcoiner. On Twitter, he's at MyLegacyKit, Mr. Arthur Van Pelt. And Arthur has been documenting the insane saga of the Craig Wright trials. If that interests you, you are going to want to check out his Twitter account. Anyways, we are going to talk to him a little bit later. But first, we're going to the numbers. Drop us a like and subscribe. All right, we are currently at a block height of 673,447. Current Bitcoin price, 48,290. Chain rewrite days, 613. Total lightning capacity, 1,114.63 BTC. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 8.10%. Sats per dollar, we're still above 2K. It's 2,071. And our current all-time high price still remains unchanged.
Man, but it still remains unchanged. But Phil, it's hard to understand in Bitcoin time because we're all in the flux. But the all-time high was just 12 days ago.
I know, it's crazy, right?
It's crazy. It feels like it was a lifetime ago. But absolutely insane. But Phil, it's a good time for
the Daily Fail. In the spirit of our guest, who has been documenting the shenanigans of CSW and the BSV shitcoin, we've got this tweet over here from Bloomberg. Bitcoin could hit 1 million or even more, says the CEO of crypto exchange Kraken. Then our buddy Calvin Iyer, who is CSW's partner in crime, or go to zero as more find out Bitcoin is not BTC is not Bitcoin. So, for the people who don't know, what goes on with BSV, essentially they are a shit fork of a shit fork. Okay. They are not real Bitcoin. They just pretend that they are real Bitcoin, and they drum up all these ridiculous narratives, and it just gets more and more cringe. You can't expect much from Calvin, right? So I guess he's par for the course on this one.
Yeah, man. Phil, it's a continuation of, this long drawn out freaking attack on Bitcoin, because that's essentially what they're doing, and they're taking a whole lot of people that are just buying into that nonsense, that BSV, along the ride with them, and eventually they're just going to get totally wrecked. It's totally sad, but I'm very curious to think what our guest thinks. Arthur, what are your opinions on this?
Yeah, I can only agree. I call it a knockoff of a fork, because if you look down the lines of forks, they are way far away from anything Bitcoin. And when I read the white paper, when I read all Satoshi's words and visions and opinions and advices, they are so far away from anything Bitcoin. It has nothing to do with Bitcoin at all. So it's a clear affinity scam, and it's dropping like a bomb. I mean, like you said, they are about a year ago they were number 5 on the market cap list. They are now hovering close to 30. It's going nowhere.
Man, totally wrecked, and that's what that's what they get for following the fake Satoshi. And we'll definitely talk about it more during our daily news segment. But Phil, I think it's a good time for
the daily meme review.
All right, everybody. The meme for today is brought to us by @FractalEncrypt. Let's check it out. It's I made this, Satoshi. You made this, Craig CW, Craig Wright. I made this. Bro, hilarious, effective. The message is powerful. It's easy to understand. Man, wow, Phil, I'm going to have to give that a good score of an empty plastic bag.
Okay, that's very solid. Yeah. So look, this meme, it kind of, tugs at my heartstrings. I think it's fantastic. I think it just does such a great job illustrating the absolute scam and fraud, okay, that CSW is. So I can't give it anything less then a set of pliers, and a cucumber.
Phenomenal score. Phenomenal score. I'm curious to think. What does our guest think, Arthur?
Yeah, and I think it's quite epic because it's in just a few pictures. It stands for this guy. This guy lives the life of somebody else in all facets and angles. So there are tons of plagiarisms known. He pretends to have done everything that Satoshi did, but if he tries to touch on what Satoshi did, he breaks it apart in the wrong way. And I can give so many examples. I can fill 2-3 hours show with you if you like. We will probably not do that today, but I've done shows before that took more than 2 hours and we only touched the tip of the iceberg.
Oh my God. So what would you give it? What score? What score would you give that meme?
Yeah, I would give it the honey badger.
Nice. Yes.
Nice.
Clever.
That's our first honey badger.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That was the best score we've ever had on the show. Wow. Great. Since we changed to the new scoring system, phenomenal score. But Phil, that being said, it's time for
the Daily News, sponsored by Crypto Cloaks.
All right, everybody. The news for today, it's a weekend edition. So we brought on a guest who thank you so much for coming on, who's very well educated on the matter. But just to give you guys some context to kind of understand what's been going on with CSW, essentially the last piece of news that came out is that unfortunately, Craig Wright won a case against HODLNOT. That sucks. So it looks like that case is going to proceed. But the only reason that he was able to do that is because the libel laws in the UK are horrible. And this article by NPR, it's a reputable source. You know, the author, you know, points it out himself. He says it's a lawyer, actually. English laws are much more favorable for someone looking to protect their reputation. A lawyer in London who often represents people making libel and privacy claims. So unlike the United States, where you can kind of just say whatever you want about someone, and then that person has to prove harm, in the UK, it's the other way around. If you say something and that person feels like you hurt their reputation, all of a sudden you have to prove that you didn't hurt their reputation, which obviously makes it a whole lot more difficulty for the party accused. And that's exactly what happened with HODLNOT. But man, another thing that was happening with Craig Wright, and I'd love to hear our guest's thoughts on this. Man, he started going after the Bitcoin developers, right? So he went after Vladimir directly. He went after a bunch of websites that were hosting the Bitcoin white paper. Some of them put it down, but there was an awesome response by the community. I know Phil put it up on his website. I put it up on my website. Essentially, everybody from Square to Facebook started hosting the Bitcoin white paper. There's this awesome video by Dim Zayan where, you know, all these 150 Bitcoiners recited it. So it was an awesome response by the community. But at the same time, man, this guy is attacking Bitcoin directly. He's taking advantage of horrible, you know, of unfortunate laws in the UK to go after any Bitcoiners in Europe. You know, he's going after Bitcoin developers directly. And unfortunately, you know, Craig Wright, he has a big war chest, right? So, man, it's absolutely horrible. This is our guest's Twitter, which I will talk about at the end of the show. But Phil, what are your thoughts on this, man? Like, it's like, is this ever going to end? And then we'll get our guest thoughts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm just going to throw something real quick in. I think, unfortunately, you know, as long as this person's war chest doesn't go to zero, this will continue. I don't think he's ever going to give up. It's been a decade. So apparently, you know, he's very persistent. But I think in this particular case, it will absolutely lead to failure.
Yeah,
absolutely. And what does our guest think? the $1 million question. What does our guest think of all this BS, of those specific things I talked about as well? If you want me to pull them back up, just let me know.
Yeah, this is not really a short story, but I'll try to keep it brief. I think when I noticed in January when he started chasing indeed 3 websites and then one website, bitcoincore.org, pull the white paper down, but other websites, the other 2 didn't. And bitcoin.org had the site run by Cobra Bitcoin is now facing some more pressure. But I was noticing, especially when I read the Slack messages from Craig, he is going totally crazy, and I think the end game has started for him, because he can try to do lawsuits after these copyright things. He's now starting to claim the 110,000 Bitcoin that he claims was stolen from him last year in February, where he sent in June that letter to Blockstream. Well, totally crazy story, because the major part of that stash has been stolen from Mt. Gox, so that is a snake pit that he is entering there. But the latest news, and not sure if you picked that up already, but yesterday or the day before yesterday, I think the day before yesterday, a new initiative was announced where lawyers join forces with each other, and not just 1 or 2, but really quite a few. And they are now going to chase Craig to get his registration on the Copyright Office kicked out, to demolish his patents that nChain is are trying to file, and they will start patent trolling starting 2023, because then they are hopefully now not anymore, but they will be active. But yeah, you can see the whole thing crumbling down. The community is crumbling. The people are leaving. They get angry. They are mad. They see no price pumps anymore. Maybe the war chest is empty, or I don't know.
What's gonna happen? There's that age-old adage, Arthur, where this threatened animal is pushed into a corner and he has no other option but to react violently. What could happen with CSW moving forward?
Yeah, that's a good question. He already faked one suicide attempt around his stressful period in 2016, which was May. He promised 3 people to send some Bitcoin back that they sent to him to a known Satoshi address. I think it was Block 9. And the address of Block 9, he said, I own the private key of that, and I can, if you send me a Bitcoin there, I can send it back to you. So 3 people sent some money there, but he never sent it back. And 1 or 2 days later, he pretended and he faked a suicide attempt. And I call this whole situation more and more Jonestown. You remember Jim Jones, the cult leader, who committed en masse suicide with his cult with 800 or 900 people. Well, I don't think it will go that far, but I call it Jonestown nevertheless. This is going totally in the wrong direction. People are getting totally wrecked emotionally and financially because,
Why? So how did we get here? How did we get to this moment where Craig Wright was able to convince, at least a good chunk of people to believe that he is Satoshi Nakamoto? Why has it been so difficult to disprove that he's Satoshi Nakamoto, especially since some of the addresses that he claimed he owned in that Florida case versus Klein were cryptographically signed by Bitcoiners that actually own the addresses, therefore disproving completely that he owned any of those addresses. Of course, Craig Wright finagled his way out of it, just with the same BS, like, it was hacked, and that, that same defense. But what would you say to that?
Yeah, I think it is a combination of a few factors. One, it's a nutcase that can only move forward by piling lies on top of forgeries and new lies. So that is his modus operandi. But the other thing is, you mentioned it already. He has a sugar daddy pumping tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, in the guy. And as long as this guy is being bamboozled and opening his wallet all the time for Craig, he will continue, and he can only face his master either in court or. And well, I'm not saying that I want this to happen, of course, but or something really, really bad happens, that somebody is going after him, or he commits suicide. Again, I'm not hoping, and I'm not telling somebody to do this or hoping that it will happen, but it's so crazy. I can only compare it with Jonestown.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, just to clarify once again, it's you're concerned about his mental health and actions that he might do to himself, unrelated, correct?
Yeah, you can say that.
Awesome. Man, not awesome, but just that was my reflex response. But it's just it's unfortunate, to say the least. It's a terrible situation. Is from as much as I hate to say this, an unfortunate situation for Craig. It's an unfortunate situation for more unfortunate situation for the people that are holding BSV and believed the bullshit that Craig peddled to them.
Allow me to add one thing. I mean, he has this kind of arrogance. He is a narcissistic personality, and there is luckily not so much. I mean, it's only a few dozen hardcore believers that join him in his quest so far, and of course there are many in the outer circles that are trying to pick a few dollars with BSV trading, and but the thing is, he has this appeal to authority. I think it's called. He can bring stuff pretty firm, and if you think it is true what he is saying, and if you're at the same time looking for the face of Satoshi. I mean, I can live with a Satoshi without a face, but there are people who cannot live with a Satoshi without a face, and he is the face of Satoshi, and he is the nearest thing available.
Very interesting point.
Very interesting.
There's a lot about human psychology.
Yeah,
absolutely. And this isn't over. This isn't over. This is gonna continue to go the way it goes. We will do our best to cover this new saga, since Arthur Hayes is the stat saga is over. I guess it's what's gonna happen with CSW saga. So we'll be here trying to cover it. But Phil, there was a software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. Looks like we've got Samourai Wallet version 0.99.96e, and the details to that are down below in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, that was the weekend edition of Simply Bitcoin. We do understand that it was covering a topic that a lot of people are not going to feel good about, but we tried to cover it. Obviously, you know what we are all about on this show. We try to give you the news from the Bitcoin perspective. That is how we feel about it. Obviously we tried to bring a guest on today that is very knowledgeable about it to try to give you more information other than the thoughts that we felt. And I want to give him a shout out because I think he did an amazing job. You can go follow him on Twitter, and his handle is @mylegacykit. That there's where you'll be able to find the best information as it relates to BSV. Not that he likes it, but just he's covering this whole CSW thing unwind, right? So that is where. Sorry.
Hey,
no, go
because
ahead.
it's fascinating and hilarious at the same time.
It's fascinating and hilarious at the same time. Obviously, you know, he's a hardcore Bitcoiner like all of us. We would not bring someone that wasn't a hardcore Bitcoiner on this show. But guys, I know it's a little different, but it was the weekend edition. But you know, you guys know what to do. If you like the episode, smash that like button. And if you love the episode, subscribe and help us defeat the shitcoin channels that are rampant all over YouTube. Help us tell everybody the truth, and that is Orange Coin, baby. We will see you on Tuesday for another episode.